There are moments in royal life that last no longer than a heartbeat, yet somehow echo louder than an entire speech. And one of those moments, barely 5 seconds if we're being generous, quietly slipped into view during the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's recent visit to Jordan. No dramatic confrontation, no raised voices, just a tiny exchange caught on camera between Meghan Markle and a man standing beside her. And suddenly, the internet did what the internet always does. It slowed the footage down, leaned forward collectively, and asked the inevitable question, what exactly just happened there? Here on the Crown Talk UK, we spend a lot of time looking beyond the official headlines, and sometimes it's the smallest gestures that tell the most interesting stories. If you enjoy thoughtful royal analysis like this, take a second to like the video and subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel grow and keeps these conversations going. Because what happened in that brief moment wasn't explosive, but it was curious. And curiosity in the world of royal watching spreads faster than wildfire. The scene itself is almost disarmingly calm. During a visit to the National Center for Rehabilitation of Addicts, the room is quiet, respectful, focused on a speaker addressing the group. Everyone around them appears to be doing exactly what you'd expect at a formal engagement, standing attentively, listening politely, nodding in all the right places. And then, almost imperceptibly, Meghan turns slightly toward a man beside her. A quick movement, a few words, barely audible, but the body language, as always, begins doing the talking. The man in question is James Holt, a long-time figure within the Sussex organization and someone who has been described as a trusted operational hand behind the scenes. Holt isn't just a random staff member drifting through the background. He's been closely associated with the Sussex operation, previously serving as a senior executive within the Archewell Foundation before its philanthropic restructuring. And that's where the moment becomes interesting. When Meghan turns toward Holt, there's a subtle but noticeable shift. Her head tilts slightly forward, the chin moves in a short, almost directive motion, one of those gestures that feels less like casual conversation and more like a quick instruction. Holt's reaction is equally subtle, but equally revealing. His eyebrow lifts, his smile tightens into something distinctly diplomatic, and then, almost immediately, he steps away from the center of the group, drifting quietly toward the back. Now, before we all get carried away, and goodness knows the internet does that well, it's important to say this clearly. Body language analysis is not a perfect science. A raised eyebrow might mean surprise. It might mean confusion. It might mean someone simply remembered they left the oven on. But when a single moment stands out against a room full of stillness, people notice. They always do. What makes this particular exchange linger in people's minds is the dynamic it appears to suggest. The brief interaction doesn't look especially warm or collaborative. If anything, it has the faint air of a quick managerial correction. The sort of moment you might see in an office corridor when a boss quietly says, "Not here, not now." And Holt's response, polite smile, step back, reposition, feels oddly familiar, like someone who understands the choreography of the situation. Online observers have been quick to connect that tiny moment with a broader narrative that has followed the Sussex household for years. Staff turnover, shifting roles, aides quietly departing. Some critics argue that working inside the Sussex orbit comes with a certain intensity. Others insist that's simply the reality of running a global philanthropic brand under relentless public scrutiny. Both explanations, frankly, can exist at the same time. And then, rather amusingly, the internet did what the internet always does when royal footage appears. It started analyzing posture. Yes, posture.
Some viewers noted that Meghan's stance during the event appeared slightly hunched forward, shoulders angled inwards. Now, that might sound like the kind of microscopic observation that belongs in a Victorian etiquette manual, but royal watchers have always treated posture almost like part of the uniform. Compare that, people say, to the famously upright composure of Catherine, Princess of Wales, whose posture during public engagements often resembles something straight out of a royal finishing school. But again, we should probably allow a small chuckle here. Analyzing shoulder angles as if they reveal hidden psychological truths might be peak internet behavior, but it does illustrate just how intensely every Sussex appearance is examined. What fascinates me most about this moment isn't whether it proves anything dramatic. It's that it reveals how even the smallest gestures become part of a much larger story. The Sussex narrative, ever since the couple stepped away from frontline royal duties, has been built from fragments, interviews, documentaries, memoirs, and now these little 5-second clips that spark endless debate. And perhaps the most ironic observation floating around online sums it up rather neatly. Critics often say the hardest thing for anyone to convincingly portray in public life is being completely unbothered, because when someone genuinely doesn't care, it shows. But when someone is trying very hard to appear calm, composed, and entirely unfazed, well, occasionally the tiniest cracks appear. A quick chin movement, a raised eyebrow, an aide quietly stepping out of frame. And just like that, a moment lasting barely 5 seconds becomes the internet's latest royal mystery. Whether it truly means anything, or whether we're all simply overanalyzing another Sussex clip, is something viewers will continue debating for weeks. But if royal history has taught us anything, it's this. In the theater of monarchy, the smallest gestures often cast the longest shadows. And here on the Crown Talk UK, we'll be right here watching those shadows carefully. If you enjoy this kind of deep dive into the subtleties of royal life, make sure you subscribe and share the video with someone who loves a good royal puzzle. Because in this world, even the quietest moments rarely stay quiet for long.